William Suff, also known as the Riverside Killer, was an American serial killer who terrorized Southern California in the 1980s and early 1990s. Born on August 20th, 1950, Suff's early life was marked by instability and trouble with the law. He had a history of violence and was known to have a fascination with death and mutilation from a young age. Suff's killing spree began in 1986 when he moved to Riverside County, California. Over the course of several years, he targeted vulnerable women, many of whom were sex workers or homeless. Suff's modus operandi involved picking up his victims in his car, often under the pretense of offering them a ride, before assaulting and murdering them. His crimes were characterized by extreme violence and brutality. Suff would often strangle his victims to death before mutilating their bodies and dumping them in remote areas. He exhibited signs of necrophilia, engaging in sexual acts with the corpses of his victims after they had been killed. Despite the severity of his crimes, Suff managed to evade capture for several years, eluding law enforcement and leaving little evidence behind. However, his luck ran out in 1991 when he was arrested for a traffic violation. During a routine search of his vehicle, police discovered a suspicious weapon and evidence linking him to the murders. Upon further investigation, police found a trove of incriminating evidence at Suff's residence, including personal belongings of the victims and a detailed journal documenting his crimes. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and Suff was subsequently charged with multiple counts of murder. During his trial, Suff was convicted of 12 murders, although the actual number of his victims may be higher. He was sentenced to death and remains on death row at San Quentin State Prison in California. His case is one of the most notorious in California's criminal history, shedding light on the dangers faced by vulnerable women and the horrors of serial violence. The investigation into Suff's crimes also raised questions about the adequacy of law enforcement's response to the murders. Critics argued that the victims, many of whom were sex workers, had been overlooked and marginalized by society, allowing Suff to operate with impunity for so long. In the aftermath of Suff's arrest and conviction, efforts were made to improve support services for vulnerable women in Riverside County. The case prompted greater awareness of the risks faced by marginalized communities and led to calls for increased resources to combat violence against women. William Suff's reign of terror may have ended with his arrest, but the scars he left on his victims and their families endure. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary individuals and the importance of vigilance in protecting society's most vulnerable members.